after a tourist boat overturns in Missouri with the horrifying final moments all caught on camera.
Poor guys. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh no.
Oh no, that's really...
Oh no. Oh no, something's help them. No kidding.
Yeah, look at that. They should have never came out here with them things.
No.
We're not running out of gas that was in there.
Hey, that's good. I don't think he's gonna make it back. Oh gosh, oh gosh.
Going under, you bet.
No. These poor people.
We got more. Marine crew, anybody can lead me? I need a rope on the bow, one on the other side.
Remember that sank and everybody on board here is trying to get them out of the water.
The victims ranging in age from 70 to a 1-year-old infant. And we're just learning a horrific detail tonight that 9 of those 17 victims, they are all from the same family. Good evening, everyone. I am Trish Regan, in tonight for Martha MacCallum, and this is the story. The boat went down in Table Rock Lake near Branson, Missouri. Witnesses say a strong summer storm, quote, came out of nowhere, sparking high winds and monstrous waves. The boat quickly began to take on water and couldn't make it back to land. Mike Tobin is live in Branson, Missouri, with the latest on the investigation just getting underway tonight. Hi, Mike.
And Trish, it is just staggering. An entire family nearly wiped out. 11 members of a single family were on board the simple sightseeing tour when it capsized, and 9 of them perished. As you mentioned, children died. The youngest of the victims, just 1 year old. The oldest of the victims, 70. 29 passengers and 2 crew members were on board. The boat's driver was among those killed. 17 ultimately died, 14 survived. The president of the parent company that owns the boat says it was a sudden microburst of high winds that materialized and battered the boats. They can be seen on amateur video taking on water. The video stops before one of those boats flips. It sank in 40 feet of water, then rolled to a depth of 80 feet where it remains now. The NTSB and Coast Guard are tasked with recovering the boat as they are taking over the investigation, as they try to determine what went wrong. Several authorities are now saying that when those questions are answered, when a determination is made, when the investigation is complete, if blame doesn't squarely rest with Mother Nature and a freak storm, it'll certainly be a contributing factor. Trish?
Thank you very much, Mike. Joining me right now on the phone with more, Missouri Governor Mike Parson. Governor Parson, good to have you, albeit under a sad occasion tonight. People are very upset. Families clearly devastated at their loss this evening. What can you tell them? What is your message to them?
You know, it's just been a terrible tragedy that's occurred here in our state. And right now, you know, our thoughts just go out to the families of the victims and all the rescue efforts that have been done now, almost going on 24 hours, the people that's involved in this. And, you know, there's not a lot you can say when something this tragic happens, other than just your hearts have to go out, your prayers have to go out for the survivors plus the families of the victims. It's just it was a tragic day for us here today, and I'm just real thankful for the ones that were saved, that people come out, that everyday people come out and turn in to be heroes, because they actually pulled people out of the water last night when this was occurring. And I had the opportunity to go to the hospital today and visit with the family member, one of the 11 that survived, her and her nephew that's 13 years old, and it was just a heart-wrenching time, you know, to talk to them and try to give some words of comfort.
What's so awful whenever you see an accident like this, Governor, is knowing that, you know, if the boat just hadn't gone out, there would be 17 people alive right now here today. If it just hadn't gone out, if it hadn't gotten caught in that storm. The National Weather Service reports that there were winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, and yet the owner of the boat company has said that, things were fine when they initially went out. I guess my question is, what is a boat doing on the water if there is any doubt, any question in any meteorology report that suggests there could be a storm coming?
Well, and I think that's the question we all want an answer to, and I think that question will be answered. I think it's premature at this point to know just exactly what did happen and what the details were. But there's an investigation going on both on the state and federal levels. And I think a lot of those answers, we're going to have to investigate that, really see what all led up to it and what mistakes were made if there was mistakes. And if they were, then we got to figure out how to correct that and make sure that people, when they come to this state, families come here to spend their vacation here, that they're going to be safe when they do activities as a family.
Absolutely. I understand you just spoke with the Vice President. What did he ask you? What did he say?
Actually, I've been trying to talk to the Vice President. We've been having a little trouble on the phones, but the President called earlier today. I had a conversation with him, a lengthy conversation, and he basically said whatever we needed that he would help with, and I offered that I could call and ask for that. And the other thing is he was just deeply concerned for the people that were involved here, and just generally his heart was hurting too, like all of ours are here in the state. Anytime you lose that many people, like I said, on a family outing, and it's hard to imagine 9 people of 11 in one family. It's just something we're all dealing with here. But we'll have to deal with it, and I think right now it's so important for people and these families, and it involved 6 states before it was all over, that friends and family members and people go to them and understand and be by their sides in this time of sorrow and trouble.
Yeah, no, they need it, every single one of them right now, and our hearts go out to every one of those victims and their families, and Governor, keep comforting them as much as you can. It's nice to hear that the President reached out. Thank you very much, Governor.
Him and the Vice President both did. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. All right, still ahead. Remember this.
What difference at this point does it make?
Well, next, hear why Hillary Clinton is drawing fresh criticism from one of the heroes of Benghazi. Chris Tanto-Perona is here for an exclusive story. And there are tapes. Why did President Trump's longtime lawyer secretly record one of their conversations? Plus, in wake of outrage, the NFL is putting the brakes on its policy requiring players to stand for the national anthem. Governor Mike Huckabee, he is fired up on that. We're going to hear from him next.
When you go down and take a knee or any other way, you're sitting, essentially, for our great national anthem. You're disrespecting our flag, and you're disrespecting our country.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
That was former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton making that infamous comment about the 2012 attack in Benghazi, Libya, that left 4 Americans dead. Her comments back then sparked outrage. And tonight, she's once again upsetting a Benghazi survivor. This time, after she weighed in on a story that President Trump would consider sending one of President Obama's former ambassadors to Russia for questioning. Hillary Clinton tweeted, "Ambassador McFaul is a patriot who has spent his career standing up for America. To see the White House even hesitate to defend a diplomat is deeply troubling." Her tweet met with outrage from one of the security contractors who saved lives during the Benghazi attack. He says, "Are you effing kidding me, Hillary Clinton? You left Ambassador Stevens and us to die in Benghazi, then spewed lie after lie to the family members of my dead teammates and to the world to cover it up, and now you have the nerve to talk about defending diplomats? You are disgusting!" Exclamation point. Chris Tanto-Perona joins us right now for an exclusive story. Good to have you here, Chris. Yeah, that didn't sit so well with you, did it?
No, it's completely disrespectful. They've already dishonored, they being Hillary Clinton and those people that follow her, support her, as far as disrespecting the family members of my teammates, and that's just another jab in the eye. It is extremely again disrespectful. I can't think of a better word than that. It's terrible.
What about hypocritical? In other words, she's talking about how awful it is that the president might send an ambassador to Russia, and you're saying, hey, it was pretty awful that you didn't look out for us in Benghazi.
Oh, it's not even awful. I would say murderous. We had the assets available, and she's the one that shut them down, that didn't let them to come to us. And I believe the assets that were available in the area would have saved Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty's, my two teammates' lives. It's an elitist attitude that we're seeing, and you see it with Comey, you see it with Brennan, you see it with Clapper, that they feel like they've done nothing wrong, ever. And it's just mind-boggling. And
have they ever called you? Have they ever said sorry? Have they given you a personal explanation for anything?
No, none at all. And a lot of it would have been, too, and I even said this to him behind closed doors as far as my CIA leadership. If you would have just apologized to us, I'd have gone away. I'd have kept deploying. This never would have gone on, but you couldn't even have just apologized for your failures. And again, it's that attitude like Hillary Clinton's that is just disgusting people, and that's why we're supporting Donald Trump. That's why people want a non-politician in the White House.
When you think about how he's approaching international situations, and don't forget, he's taken a lot of heat for his comments there in Helsinki. How is it that you feel he's very different than anything else you've seen before? I mean, you say you support him, and yet there are many members of the military even who are very frustrated that he didn't jump to defend his own people, his own intelligence people. How do you reconcile all that right now?
You know, when you're the intelligence community and you got guys like Brennan in there, you got guys like Clapper that are spying on a presidential candidate, they're spying on an American. They even tried to justify the story of it being a video of our attack. They didn't support us. We were all fired. I don't see how I can be mad at real Donald Trump. I can't be mad at Donald Trump for the agency that didn't even stand by us when we saved their people's lives. So it's one of those things where I think he's calling it how it is. He's being a real person. He's not being politically correct. I don't want somebody politically correct. I want somebody that's going to say the truth in there and not continually lie. And that's what I saw in the past administration. That's what I saw with Hillary Clinton. And then again, of course, that night when we came back, it was lie after lie after lie, which caused us to come forward and tell the truth.
Yeah, no, you got a lot of lies fed to you, and I can't imagine how that feels, knowing what you risked, knowing that, you know, some dear friends of you will never be here again because of mistakes our government made. And again, these were mistakes that, you know, frankly, could have been handled far more easily.
And they could have been avoided. And to be honest, guys die during war. It's war. That's how it happens. In war, people die. It's don't try to cover up what took place because of your political ambitions. And that's what makes us upset. That's what makes me upset and continually makes me upset with Hillary Clinton and people that were around her at that point in time.
Well, you definitely made that clear on Twitter today anyway, sir. It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us tonight, Chris.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
You too. Joining us right now, Matt Schlapp, chairman of CPAC and the American Conservative Union, Chris Stirewalt, Fox News political editor, and Jessica Tarlov, author of America in the Age of Trump and a Fox News contributor. It's so good to have all of you here.
Thanks, Trish.
Wow, my goodness. Chris, it's been quite a week. Quite a week. You know, when you look back over the course of events, beginning on Monday, of course, with that press conference in Helsinki, and then fast forwarding 24 hours later, basically, to the president basically saying, I misspoke. And now, of course, he's inviting Vladimir Putin here to the States. Do you think he's going to be able to push forward onto something new and something different next week? Or how much is the media going to get entrenched in the story that they're running with right now?
Well, Michael Cohen helped him out a little bit today.
Yeah, we're going to get to that, but yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, on that one, so that'll be a little bit of a palate cleanser. No, a story like this is like when a python eats a rabbit. You can see it moving through the system as it goes along, and that'll be the way this is. And it'll also depend a great deal on how the administration can finally stop correcting the record. They've got to get to a place. They got to figure out what they're talking about. They got to stop there and no more. And they got to pick a spot and stick to it.
But I guess one of my questions would be, Matt, can you really do that when you have a politician, as Chris just told us, who's really not that politically correct and not always thinking, say, politically, but saying more what he feels in a given moment?
it's an unscripted presidency. It's spontaneous. It's kind of like interviews where they say, tell me the first thing that's on your mind when I say something, and the president reacts very honestly constantly. And I do agree with Chris. I do think we'll get past this story. And the real question with Russia is the policy. Look at all the fireworks and the histrionics that were covered this week. It's the policy that undergirds it, and this is a very tough on Putin policy. It's 2 or 3 times tougher than Obama ever dreamed his policy of being. And I think what they have to do is continue to demonstrate to the American people that although the president wants to get along with Putin and try to come to a rough accommodation with him, they realize that he's a bad guy and that he's done terrible things and that they'll be wary. And then on questions like Syria and Ukraine, we're ready to do what needs to be done.
Let me turn to Jessica for a moment and ask about Michael Cohen. So now we have learned that Michael Cohen apparently taped one of his conversations in which he talked about paying off the president, who was then running for office, talked about paying off a woman who worked for Playboy that he had a relationship with. That's one thing. I guess I would just ask what maybe this feeds the sort of image of the kind of image that people are trying to put out there for the president, but it's not necessarily, Jessica, as though that in and of itself is illegal. I mean, unless you're using campaign funds. So I guess that's the question.
Well, that'll be the question that we'll see how this, what plays out from there. When you say, how does this affect the image? It doesn't affect the image of the president, because after everyone heard the Access Hollywood tape, that was done and dusted. You know who this man is, and then you went to the polls on November 8th and you either said it's all right to vote for someone like this or it's not, and I'm voting for Hillary or whoever, Lieberman, Jill Stein, I don't know. So that's already been, the Russian plant. So that decision's already been made. It'll be interesting to see if campaign funds were used for this. I happen to think, though, and Nate Silver made this point this afternoon on Twitter, that, it seemed like there was some juice being added to the Russia thread line, and now the Playboy model issue is back in the running here, which is actually a distraction from what's going on here. I mean, it matters if it's campaign funds, but if you have 12 more indictments out of the Mueller probe, for instance, and we're having a conversation about what the president did standing up there next to President Putin and capitulating to him in the most public forum possible, now we're talking about Karen McDougal.
Right. But, you think about, Chris, this ongoing investigation. I hope it gets wrapped up soon. Don't you think it's important for the sake of our country that we come to some kind of conclusion here, whatever that may be? We need to know whether there was any collusion or not, because as long as there's this threat of this investigation going on, well, you have the mainstream media and the left coming up with all kinds of crazy storylines that they're going to continue as they concoct what maybe they think might have happened.
Well, we should remember here that the collusion stuff is not what we're talking about with Cohen.
Right.
This is corruption stuff. This is an investigation into corruption and malfeasance. And the issue here isn't about collusion. The issue here, the material question, and this is if we don't know who leaked this. We don't know whether this came from the Cohen camp, if this came from the Trump camp, or this came from somebody else. But the whole point here is, as Jessica alluded to, did anybody use money, did anybody use a slush fund secretly to try to shape the outcome of an election, to pay somebody off, to keep a damaging story out of the press or do something like that? That's a crime. You're not allowed to do that. Now, look, it doesn't mean that that's a presidency-ending crime if that happened to be the case, but that's a different matter, and that's not about collusion.
Okay, but Matt,
it's a foretaste from Cohen what he might eventually. I think it's a warning shot.
Don't we know that? Didn't he not actually pay her any money?
That's just what Rudy Giuliani says today. Check with him tomorrow.
So I think that there's a more serious question here. When the special counsel pitched this raid of the president's lawyer's office, and they were able to glean through all of these materials, a lot of people had serious concerns with that. Now, there are some narrow cases where that could be acceptable, but it raises a lot of questions in Americans' minds who believe that there should be some fairness and some real strong guardrails between somebody who's being investigated and the lawyer that they have used in the past that's also part of that investigation. So there's very serious questions about this. We do not know where the leak is coming from, but I will have to tell you, I think it's a very serious question. conversation about what they know and what we're going to find out.
Yeah, perhaps, though, the president's favor, we're not talking about the collusion issue anyway, at least at this moment in time. Anyway, good to see you all. Thank you so much. Still to come, everyone, new developments in Kim Jong-un's promise to President Trump that he'd start the process of returning the remains of American soldiers lost during the Korean War, and why the NFL is now taking a knee on their own national anthem policy. Governor Mike Huckabee, he's here. He's next.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
He says that so well, right? Well, believe it or not, the NFL kind of sort of listened. Earlier this year, it announced that any player on the field would be required to respectfully stand for our national anthem or face a serious fine. That is, until this morning, when the league and the players' union announced that they're putting the policy, once praised by President Trump and his supporters, on hold while they talk things out. Joining me right now, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Fox News contributor and host of Huckabee on TBN Saturday and Sunday nights. Governor, good to have you here. I know you're not too happy about this. This makes you pretty angry. They were going in the right direction, and then they pivoted.
Here's why it makes me upset, Trish. I mean, how many people work for a boss and the employees tell the boss what to do? I mean, I've never seen this before, ever. So you have NFL players who essentially tell the team owners, the bosses, who pay them amazing salaries, that here's the way it's going to be. And I just wonder who's running this. I mean, this is the inmates running the asylum on steroids. Right. Well, here's Roger Goodell makes $40 million a year to run the NFL, and he can't do it. He needs to step aside. He's not running the NFL. The NFL is running him.
Well, you sound a little like the president here, Governor, because our president just tweeted a short time ago. Let me share this with you. The NFL national anthem debate is alive and well again. Can't believe it. Isn't it in contract that players must stand at attention, hand on heart? The $40 million commissioner, that's Roger Goodell, must now make a stand. First time kneeling, out for game. Second time kneeling, out for season, no pay. Well, that would mean, I suppose, Governor, that they'd have to actually manage these players, right? They'd have to actually tell them, you're off the field unless you play ball, so to speak.
You wonder how many of these guys would give up those multi-million-dollar paychecks if it meant that, yeah, you can salute with your fist, you can get down on your face, and you can spit at the flag, you can do anything you want to, but you're not going to do it and get paid millions of dollars to play football. If you want to play football, play football. If you want to go into politics, run for office. But we, I think, need to get to the place where we get politics out of football and football out of politics. And if, I get it that there's a lot of similarities. I mean, the similarity is that both are a full contact sport. Both end up having a lot of people shed their blood all over the place. Yeah. The big difference is, at least in football, you get to wear pads and a helmet. In politics, there are no pads, no helmet, and you still get your head handed to you. But good gosh, these guys need to decide that they want to play football, because if they don't, the NFL is spiraling down to meaninglessness, and I think we may see America get all excited about the World Cup. We'll start calling football soccer and soccer
that
football.
Might be pushing it. That just might be pushing a little bit far. But no, I hear you. I mean, nobody's watching anymore. The ratings have gone way down. But to me, this is a Roger Goodell issue. I mean, I think you and the president are spot on when they say, "Hey, manage these guys." It shows you, though, Governor, how scared they are. How scared that they might lose that talent. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of, as a patriotic American, I might be willing to watch the second string there just because they actually are willing to do their job.
Well, I just think it's very important that the players understand they are so blessed to get paid that kind of money to play a game. It doesn't hurt them to honor America, honor the flag, honor the men and women of the military who keeps them free. And if they want to protest, do it on their own time when they're off duty. It's simple as that.
Yeah. And hey, it's a great song. Thank you. Good to see you, Governor.
Thank you, Trish.
All right. That and other fun headlines we have all coming up, or we do have some fun headlines, right? Stay tuned for that. But first, an Iowa couple is among thousands of families across the country waiting on Kim Jong-un to send home the remains of U.S. troops from North Korea. We've got more on that story. We can't do one thing until we see North Korea respond to their promise to denuclearize.
The path ahead is not easy. It will take time. But our hopes for a safer world for all of us and a brighter future for North Korea remains our objective, and that hope endures.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley remaining cautiously optimistic today as to the future of our relationship with the rogue regime. It comes as there are new questions tonight about when America's fallen heroes will finally start to come home from North Korea. Kim Jong-un agreed to begin the process during his summit with President Trump last month. In moments, we'll talk to a couple fighting to get their loved ones' remains home from the Korean War. But we begin with Fox News Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt from our West Coast newsroom tonight. Hi, Jonathan.
Good evening, Trish. The date apparently set for the return of some of America's fallen servicemen is significant, July 27th. It was on that date in 1953 that the Korean War was halted with the signing of an armistice, and now there is hope that the North Koreans might mark the day by honoring their promise to begin returning the remains of America's war dead. The promise was made by North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un at his summit with President Trump last month. A joint statement from the two leaders talked then about the, quote, immediate repatriation of those already identified. But more than a month on, no remains have been returned, although earlier this week, Secretary of State Pompeo sounded an optimistic note.
We're making progress along the border to get the return of remains, a very important issue for those families. We think in the next couple of weeks we'll have the first remains returned. That's the commitment. So progress certainly being made there.
The Pentagon has said that 7,699 U.S. servicemen are missing from the Korean War, including about 5,300 believed to be in the North. And North Korea has long used them as a bargaining chip in negotiations with the U.S. For families of the missing, it would help bring some closure 65 years on from the war. But this is North Korea we're talking about, Trish, and quite simply, U.S. officials and the families of the fallen will likely only believe it when they see it. At the United Nations today, Secretary of State Pompeo talked about the need for Kim Jong-un to follow through on his promises on denuclearization, but the same words could easily apply to the repatriation issue.
So what do we need to see? We need to see Chairman Kim do what he promised the world he would do. It's not very fancy, but it's the truth.
Secretary Pompeo also urged the world to keep up the sanctions on North Korea to maintain the pressure on the regime to fulfill all its promises. The repatriation of American remains would appear to be the easiest of those promises on which to follow through. We'll see on July 27th if the North Koreans are true for once to their word. Trish?
Right around the corner. Jonathan Hunt, thank you so much. Now, one of the many brave Americans who fought in the Korean War was Captain Harry Moore. Sadly, this Air Force pilot was shot down in Korea in 1951, and he never returned home. But his family has never forgotten him, and to this day, they are still pushing for answers, and they are seeking closure. Here with us right now tonight, Lois Moore and Bob Moore. Good to have you both here. Lois, I know that you were married to him. I know that, Bob, you were his brother, and you two also have a unique story yourselves. But walk me through how challenging the last several decades have been as you have sought to figure out what happened to your loved one.
Well, we haven't been able to find out anything about it. We were notified in 2002 that Captain Moore was missing in action, and a year later we were notified that since nothing had been heard from him, he was declared killed in action. At that time, then we started to find out what actually happened to him. So we we heard about the DPMO, and we joined that group, and we went to all their meetings. We attended their meetings for 14 years, and we actually never got any additional information. They had the original story that he was shot down, and then later on in 2002, we were notified that information had been found in the Russian archives that he possibly had not been killed. And Lois received a letter then, and she can tell you a little bit about that.
Please do, Lois. He may have actually been taken as prisoner of war or sent to Russia?
In 2002, I received a letter from the U.S. Air Force stating that information had been found in the Russian archives concerning my husband, Captain Harry Moore. The pilots that had shot him down near the Yalu River indicated that his plane landed gently into the water, that he was captured, taken prisoner, interrogated by a Colonel Kozadov, and sent to Menino Air Base in Russia. And that was the end of that story, except many years later, some of the pilots that shot him down were interviewed, and they even remembered his name many years later.
So what is it that you guys are seeking now? How might whatever we learn in the coming days change how you feel right now about the past, and how might it provide you that closure that you so need?
Well, we are so happy that President Trump was able to essentially force Kim Jong-un to release this information. And that's to release the remains. What we're interested in is what happened to those who were known alive at the end of the hostilities and were never accounted for. The remains if they lived and died there, the remains were held, and he has refused to give them back all these years.
So maybe that's about to change. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Well, we're hoping it'll change. Yeah, we're hoping it'll change. We need to have an accounting. There's 7,500 families just like us that have waited and grieved for 65 years, and we cannot find out what happened. And our DPMO agency of the federal government has not been able to help us at all. They try, but they say the Russians won't let them in to see the classified files, and we say, well, that's interesting, but you won't even let us in to see our classified files. We know that our government has classified files, and they refuse to release them. They've been held for 60 years, even though every president has ordered them to release these files, but the CIA, DIA, and the State Department has refused to do that. It's an outrageous disgrace.
Well, I sure do hope that you guys are able to figure out what happened to your loved one, to Captain Moore. Our fingers are crossed for you. Good luck to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, everyone, the new shoe that's impossible to find, and no one can figure out why. I mean, would you want to wear this thing? We're taking on the high-heel Croc debate. Yeah, they actually have those. Plus, it's Friday, and notice we are at work. But guess what? A new study finds a 4-day work week might actually be better for you and your boss. Let's see what my Friday female panel, all-female panel, thinks about this. We have Kat Tipp, Carly Shimkus, and Christina Parsonevelis all here with me next. See you in 2. Oh my goodness. All right, so if you're looking for the latest fashion trend for your Friday night, apparently, here it is. High-heeled Crocs. If there is such a thing. It turns out there are such a thing. There is such a thing. Unfortunately, they're already sold out online, and no one seems to know exactly why. So what does our Friday female panel think about these things? Here right now, Kat Tipp, Fox News contributor, Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, and Christina Parsonevelis, a Fox Business reporter. It's great to see all you guys. This cracked me up when I saw it because, You know, part of the reason I think for wearing high heels is because you want to look good. I don't know as these shoes quite pull that off.
The only reason to wear Crocs, I thought, I don't have any, was to be comfortable, because they don't look very good. And you add the heel, and they're no longer comfortable anymore, so I don't understand the point. No heels are comfortable. I never wear heels personally. I put them on about 3.5 minutes before I come on set, and then take them off immediately after, so I can't really handle it. But props to everyone who can. They do look nice.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd even be that beneficial, because if you look at the back one, they don't even have a strap, Carly.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the reasons they sold out, well, there could be two explanations. One, either people really like them, or some people may have bought them as sort of this joke, novelty type item. But at least they're practical. I think that they're practical. They're probably more comfortable than the regular heel. And most crazy fashion trends make no sense at all. Like, remember when Topshop was selling those clear plastic pants? Which was a real head scratcher.
I don't remember that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad. maybe I just deleted that.
Newsflash, that happened. So I think these are for the practical lady that likes to be comfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah, but they already have a platform heel that's been selling quite well. And we look at trends. Ugly's in. If you look at those ugly, thick running shoes that people wear, the Balenciaga came out with a running shoe. Balenciaga is a designer that actually took this Croc to another level. I was in Barney's about 2 weeks ago, and I, for fun, put it on. I think we're going to show it on the screen, just this shoe that's taking the Croc to the next level, and it's not the Croc. It's from Balenciaga. There you go.
Oh, my.
There you go. How much do you think that is? You can't see it on the screen.
Well,
probably
it looks like it could be about $20. But
You think it'd be $20, but it is $850 US for this shoe. It's a designer shoe. Maybe it's a mockery.
You would have to pay me $850.
They do look like Crocs. Crocs could sue. That is the exact
No,
Croc.
because right now sales for Croc have been down. This is great publicity for the company. All of this. We're talking about it on live TV, national
Oh my
TV.
goodness, yes. And by the way, they're like selling them on eBay and stuff now too, right?
We can get in.
Premium.
I need extra cash.
All right, I want to ask you about another story. New Zealand says it's finding some success. This is a firm in New Zealand is finding success in a 4-day work week. It's Friday. We're working. I mean, I don't know, Christina, they don't have like tremendous GDP there in New Zealand, so maybe the 4-day thing has something to do with it. But what are the reasons, shall we say, for a 4-day work week?
For me, I just wait to the last minute. So I think productivity is at its utmost. When you know that you have 4 days to get your job done, you will work because you're going to work for that weekend. 5 days, you're like, oh, okay. Well, Monday's a wait, and then Friday's around the corner. I don't know. That's just me.
Right, that's
maybe I'm unproductive, but I feel the shorter amount of time I have, I'll get the job done. Which is why we're in media. Because that clock is ticking.
They need deadlines.
Yeah. Right. The more that I have to do, I feel like the more I get done. If I have a week to write a column, I'm a writer as well, it'll take me a week to write the column. But if I only have 2 hours, it takes me 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about this whole thing, though, because I think everybody was really productive the first time around because it was new. Everybody was excited for that long weekend. But overall, people are then going to start getting used to the 4-day work week. Productivity is going to start lagging, and then those employers are going to say, wait a second, we got to go back to the 5-day thing.
Yeah, and it feels a little French. I'm surprised in New Zealand.
Yes, it does.
Okay, mattress firm that's looking to pay interns to sleep. Well, that's a job for you. I guess if you're not okay with the 5-day-a-week thing, maybe you can get a job where you get paid to sleep.
Look at that. That sounds exciting and very comfortable. I think it would be the only overnight shift that I would willingly take and not ever complain about it. But it is more work than just sleeping. These interns have to post regularly on social media. They have to host these Facebook Live sessions and do some reviews on the mattresses. So I think what Mattress Firm is doing, and they're doing a really good job of it, other than promoting their company, is they're really tapping into the trend of social media influencers. They're probably going to pick some young, trendy person to promote their brand.
I think it does sort of make sense having people there that are actually sleeping on the thing and giving you a review about it, because, I mean, you buy a mattress and you kind of own it at that point, right?
Yeah,
and if it's not comfy,
get it out of your apartment. A little bit difficult. I don't think I would like this job, though, because I'm not a very good napper. I'm a kind of a person where once I'm up, I'm up. And if I try to nap, I just sit there with, racing thoughts in my head. So this job, instead of get paid to sleep, would be like get paid to lay there with your thoughts, which doesn't really sound quite as appealing. No. So I don't think this would be the job for me.
I don't know if it's very hygienic, just if we're all sharing or taking turns, interns and stuff like that. And if you want to find some recruitment options, I think those they go to IKEA and take a nap on the bed there, because now you can nap in IKEA, so you may as well find them. But I think I have a side hustle, selling those Crocs online and then getting paid to sleep in
the
bed.
whole journalism thing doesn't work out. There's a whole other career out there. Hey, thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend. Good stuff. All right, stay tuned, everyone. We've got more of the story right after this.
Sweet dreams are made of